feel like saying "Good morning, Thailand" or something.
Yeah. Good morning from Phuket.
This is awesome. So LA to Phuket and Mark to Susan. It's awesome to see you. I won't tell anybody that we've had an hour conversation before this, which was spectacularly brilliant as well. Almost solved all the problems, but then we realized there was even more in the world. So we're still at it. But it's number one, it's great to see you. It's good to see you're healthy and smiling and laughing, usual, Miss O. And and I appreciate you being on our series to recognize Leaders Who Care and just chat a little bit. So I guess the best way to start is briefly just tell everybody who you are and what a little bit about you.
Okay. Okay. As you know, my name is Susan O. I was a business journalist for a better part of 25 years. I started when I was 16. And then I transitioned into writing about technology back in about 2012 in Chicago, and was then asked by some of those companies that I interviewed and profiled to then consult for them on their startups, and was then enlisted by an AI company based out of Cupertino and now San Francisco back in 2014. And so then started working in technology, first as an evangelist and a story strategist and community hacker, to escalating roles until about 3 years ago, actually closer to 4. A tech team that I'd worked with previously who had failed to raise came back to me and said, we've got this back-end bot that we think you can help track fake news. And you were a journalist for so long, can you please come on board and be our CEO? And I was like, let me study this problem because I've never been a CEO. And, I've grown up in businesses big and small my entire life because my father, my mother, and my grandfather were all serial entrepreneurs that exited and created companies, and my stepfather. And so came back, have a look at the problem, and that was 3.5 years ago. So went to go launch an AI-based company on tackling propaganda and troll tactics, and ended up instead helping to launch an NGO with the support of the Office of Partnerships at the UN General Assembly in New York. Again, because people asked me to help out, to help organize these small groups, asking very specific questions and curating them. And I helped them quite a bit and started going into all the brainstorms. And, one of the first ones was to ask, can you retroactively extract carbon dioxide and other elements that heat the earth retroactively? And that was held at MIT with climate scientists and frontline workers, researchers, NGOs, and the resounding answer was yes. And so then it rolled into, well, then what would it take to then help these companies scale and to fund them? And for that, we had to go to the most active philanthropists in America and their centers, which happened to be, in New York. So we held the second brainstorm in New York, and that's when I got involved. So, it's kind of like moving sideways to go to, launch an AI company, go to write about tech, and then ending up being, sort of enlisted into helping with these startup companies, going to launch my own AI company, and then helping to launch an NGO instead.
Well, you are a helper. There's no doubt about it, and you bring positive energy to the table. No doubt about that too. And so it kind of segues a little bit into, the infamous why. Share a little bit about what your why is, but like really, why do you do what you do?
Oh, because I figure, I get asked so the way that my mind works is that, I get asked to solve a problem. And if you ask me an honest question, I'm going to give it my all and give you an honest answer.
Right.
So I was born in probably close to the world's most heavily armed border in Seoul, South Korea. And it was a military dictatorship at the time when we left. And my father took us all out of the country because they were stemming the brain drain and taking away the passports of skilled workers like himself. He's an industrial engineer. So he got a job with Shell Petroleum in Isfahan, Iran in 1975. Right before the Islamic Revolution, and took all of us there. And so we lived there very happily for about 2.5 years until there were escalating violence, including a homemade car bomb that was found on the same compound where we lived of a friend's, family car. And so for the second time in a couple of years, my parents got us up in the middle of the night and said, well, we're leaving. All of you get to pick one toy. Okay, good night. Go to sleep. And so, then we went to London, got stuck there where we didn't know where we were going to go until one of my father's business partners, who himself was Hungarian, Lajos Csepregi, was a Hungarian refugee who moved to Canada with like 20 bucks in his pocket and a phone number. And he sponsored us all into Canada, and I grew up Canadian. So I guess that's my long way of saying is that I'm always looking for the why. I became a journalist to understand my parents and to understand my complicated childhood and how events, global events could become so personal. And from that work, from that prism of inquiry, that led to my looking at the areas that had the most growth, that seemed to have the most impact on our lives, on human lives, which then, of course, was technology and the digital realm.
Well, this is a biased part, but I guess being Canadian, I would have to say that probably the most impactful was the Canadian part, right?
I completely identify as being Canadian because we have a sense of civic pride and a sense of the collective good. It's a social contract. I don't think you'll ever hear about a politician that posited that we shouldn't have universal health care, because where are they now? Right? I think it's been tried once or twice, but where are they now? Right?
That is Canadian, there's no doubt about it. So,
very, very Canadian.
So
yeah.
you self-describe yourself as, I was going to say an AD and a BS detector. You're an autodidact and you're a professional BS detector. That's how you self-describe yourself. And I think that's how you described yourself when I first met you. And I said, holy cow. Actually said, holy cow, that's kind of cool. And, so you, like many of us, you traveled a lot globally, which we've talked about in the conferences and whatnot. And you've partially answered this question, but this is a pushy question a little bit. What do you think differentiates you as one of the leaders who cares?
Oh gosh, you know what? I know that I care. I don't think I can declare, anybody should declare themselves as a leader. I don't consider myself a leader. I am responsible for a grand vision, and also an ability to then be able to swoop down to see how I can link each of those stages and the multiple steps. And all I can do is be able to articulate that in a way that I enlist people who are so much smarter and so have such greater vertical expertise and skills to come and help me realize and express this idea, right? Ideas and visions that's fleshed out, and hopefully in a way that's properly incentivized and structured in a way that everybody gets fed and everybody is appreciated and recognized for their efforts.
That actually, you just defined that you kind of are a leader because you bring in the best people and you act with humility. So that was a good description. So it works. Now you talked about your parents and your grandparents, and I talked about my grandparents in a recent article I published with LinkedIn, and I think most grandparents probably said what mine did. They said, if the most important thing is to have your health, that's the most important thing. So the speed of technology the last 50, 40, 10 years has been unbelievable. Now we have COVID here, which is impacting social, economic, like it's going out of style. And like we've talked, there's a reason for everything. People are thinking now a little bit more. They have more time to think. They're trying to, and almost an awakening a little bit of Mother Nature saying, you should see what's really important out there. How do you view, with all that, how do you view the future of work, the future of business, like 2 steps from now and 2 years from now?
Oh, wow. So, you know what, with this pandemic, it really became crystal clear to me of just how quickly things are being automated. And I'd always said that, you can view AI as automation and blockchain as simply as the ability to build a trustless system with a degree of transparency. And, you see the need for that immediately when you know, oh my God, we don't have a supply chain for proper FDA approved medical supplies and protective gear,
Yeah.
and we can't track the prices of who's price gouging and who's hoarding, all of which would have been is possible with blockchain features and with AI looking at the patterns and the anti-patterns of where these supplies go and end up. So everything has changed. It's like, you know, we went to sleep in one world, as this poem that I was reading said. We went to sleep in one world and woke up in another. And it was watching the sci-fi movie unfold. I will say that what I've always said was that I was hoping that the AI and the automation would free people from those repetitive jobs that people were never meant to do. And so that we could free people, to be more human and humane, to be able to create and nurture and daydream and have vision and take care of living things and discern, have a practice of discernment. And it's almost kind of come to that because, you know, staying apart together gives you a lot of time for reflection and a lot of time for going back to your hobbies and your dreams. I'm getting a lot of gloating from millennials who are hipsters saying, you were laughing at us for knowing how to distill our own gin on rooftops, and now here you are. You know? A lot of us are going back to our childhood dreams and our hobbies, and we figured out a way to work remotely, those of us who want to be productive. Or, you know, I've been working remotely for about probably closer to 10 years now. Yeah. Everyone is figuring out a way of how to stay together but apart and to be productive and to be self-disciplined in a way, self-motivating and contained. And that's going to be more key than ever, that, you know, when we're talking about the speed of technology and digital, what makes people the most productive, you know, we've had probably hours and hours of conversation about this, you and I, about this, and it's about the adaptability and the resilience and the sense of self-motivating vision and passion, you know, of being able to sort of be very, very self-guided and going with your gut, but also being aware of all your like blind corners with people who are smarter than you are. So to get the future of work is that everybody now must think entrepreneurially, and everybody must think about how to be productive remotely and to practice good hygiene. You know, if you think about the places, and it really hurts me to say this as a New Yorker, that yeah, wash your hands, make soaps available in every public place. If we make it a practice that, you know, we're social distancing, which is great for some of us who are ambiverts and introverts, social distancing and just washing your hands for 20 minutes. Yeah. You know, every time that you touch something or go out the door, that in itself would help.
20 seconds, right?
20 seconds, at least 20 to 30 seconds. Right. Yeah. Because a virus is nothing but a piece of DNA and a piece of DNA covered by a layer of fat that gets into your system and then starts chunking itself out, replicating itself.
Well, doesn't it? We talked about sunlight earlier, and we talked about, I mean, it's really back to the basics a little bit about good hygiene.
Back to the basics.
Basics of how to act. Isn't that what you're kind of talking about? And I do remember when technology started, even maybe not that far back, but and wasn't it the same thing that people said, well, it's going to help us not have to worry about all the manual, all of this and that, and have life. But now it seems, to your point, that that we're actually realizing that technology, we're actually connecting more on technology. We're seeing people's homes where they are as real people type of deal, you know, not like, well, Zoom has now these backgrounds of like Star Trek and stuff. But I think what you're is right on.
Yeah, it's forcing us to reckon, you know, the noise from the signal, right? To cut out the noise. Like, what's really important? If I'm going to die, then who do I want to see? Where do I want to be? And what do I want to work on? You know, one of the first things after I had my minor free cut, realizing that I was going to be here for a while, I was only supposed to be here for a week, and then they started closing the borders, and then the body count in New York started to go up. And so my friend said, you know, you should probably stay here. The way that I travel, I probably would have been like Typhoid Mary. I would have killed everybody in my wake, you know.
Oh, Lord, let's not go there.
But like, you know, I mean, the way all of us like travel, and it's probably best to stay put. It was really, you know, it was really deeply humbling the way that some people reached out and said, you know, I've been thinking about you, just want to make sure that you were safe. And then another friend of mine another friend in Chicago said, you know, I have all these friends in different parts of the world and we're all stuck in different parts of the world. I want to do a short video reminding people to stay home, something just really sweet. And you can speak in your own language, and let's just remind people that it's not forever. Let's reassure them that, you know, this is what it looks like in other parts of the world, and that we can stay calm and level-headed about this. And so that's what we did. We recorded a 4-minute video, each of us giving our friend Nancy Eppringham, our clips, and then she edited it all together with the sound bed, and we put it out to all our friends just to say, like, you know, and it was really a great lesson that no matter what technology that we have and no much what kind of isolation that we have, is that it always starts with the heart, right? How do we want people to feel? And oh yeah, I see that. That's like a great thing. I love your living room, by the way. It's very sort of like LA rustic.
Thanks. I think.
But you know, like it always, whatever value that we want to create and give to other people, before we start with the information of what we want them to do and what makes sense, and before we educate them, first we have to open hearts. First, we have to get people to a place where they feel safe, where they feel where they're listened to, where there's a sense of relating. Like, I know this sucks, but it's not going to be forever. Just please stay at home. Right. Just a simple message said in a nice way, with some music and with maybe even like, you know, different languages to reach out to people is primary to how we can start changing systems. We can only change systems when we start with people, and we can only start to help people when we open their hearts so that they're open to receiving the intel that we have to share with them, so that for a split second they see what we see, which is not there and doesn't exist yet, but what could be.
You know, right? One of my favorite, you're so right on, and thank you for saying that, because one of my favorite quotes is from Maya Angelou, where she says, most people will forget what you've said, most people forget what you've done, but they will always remember how you made them feel. Mm-hmm. And yes, just right on the money, sure. You know, and if they remember how you made them feel, I added to it, sort of, not at her level, but if they remember how you made them feel, there's a good chance then that they're going to remember what you said and what you've done, and you know, be with you, you know,
and feel safe to ask good questions.
Right.
You know, I'm the first. I love being the dumbest guy in the room. You know, I'm the first one to say, I didn't get that. I'm really sorry. Can you repeat what you just said, or how does that work? I should probably say it a little bit nicer and not as impatient like that New Yorker's like, I don't get it. What is that? I don't know, man. You got to explain to me in like 3 to 5 sentences, you know?
But you can say it because people, and I know you, that's why I say this, because people know where you're coming from. That's why you're able to say it that way. So it's cool. You know, when one of the things I wanted to bring up is how do you see current and future business leaders who care? Because I think a lot of the change has to come from business leaders to make things happen. So how do you see them playing a part with respect to well-being? Because we're talking about people, we're talking with respect to well-being, playing a part that they recognize the financial well-being that's needed, but also the physical and the mental well-being that's needed for their people, for their talent, and how it mutually benefits their business, but also flows down to the community.
Oh, geez. You know what, and I say this a lot because of like the whole blockchain, crypto space, and some of the, I hate to say, some of the really nasty kind of practices that I see, on the West Coast and in Silicon Valley, is that you can't be about impact and change if you're treating your own people like dirt. If you're not paying your own people, if you're reneging on your, on your agreements, do your stuff and do it the way that you want to do it. Just you don't have to be a jerk about it. Right. And you don't have to name names to see, the great legends in Silicon Valley who, regularly steal from each other, including their co-founders. Right. It's horrendous. So I don't know, do your stuff and do it well and treat people well, and just don't be a jerk about it. I suppose I'm hard pressed to, like I say, tell other people, what to do. Like, I feel that my achievements are not anywhere near some of what the Titans are, but I don't feel like that's, you know, what I want to do. I'm not setting out to, you know, build a billion-dollar company or a unicorn. I want to solve problems in a way that's practical and that's elegantly simple that other people can replicate and to be able to scale using their hyper-local needs and information, whether that's a digital product or an organization or relationships or a special vehicle company, whatever that is, right? And
You know,
so,
just to interrupt for a second, I saw an interview with one of the engineers that was really involved with the internet and the creation of the internet, and he said something I thought was brilliant, and you kind of mirrored it right there. He said they were talking to him as being one of the geniuses of the world, and he said, genius. What I sought out to do was help create something that others can build on to be even better and make a difference that way. I don't consider that genius, he said. I consider that, I don't know how he said it or what, but like the right thing to do. I didn't even think about it. That's what I need to do. And it's kind of like you just said that.
what a beautiful being. I would love to meet him. No, but it's true though. It's like, you know, when somebody said to me, is like, well, why do you travel the way that you do? And why are you doing all this when you could just like focus on just sit still, you know, take the money, take the funding and just like go build this. And I was like, I can't take any funding until I know exactly what I'm building and how I'm going to get some of that value back to people, you know, within a few years. And, you know, I really need to figure that out. And I thought, and I said, you know, for whatever reason, I'm one of the few people in this world who is either willing or able or both to have, you know, the reach or the access that I do to some of the intel, whether it's technologically or business-wise or to the people, to get them to share with me and to bring some sort of consensus. And you know, whether it's a Bitcoin maximalist or Ethereum person or someone who's in AI and robotics, who, you know, someone who solely relies on GANs, whatever it is, if I can like bring them together in different configurations and say, this is where we can all meet. This is where our incentives overlap. We want to figure this singular or these singular questions out. And of course, it's a question that has multiple steps that you need to kind of figure out, like 6-dimensional math or something. That each one takes a different calculation to figure out. If I can do that, then, and I know that I'm one of the few people that has that kind of reach and those kind of relationships, then you kind of have to do it. Because people are asking an honest question, you know, or things that I care about or people that I care about are asking an honest question. So then you're like, okay, then how do we break this down? Because every problem has a solution. We just need to break it down.
You know, you go right on. The thing that they say fills people's heart and soul more than anything is belonging to a community. And you're basically talking about a community that you're building there. And it's been proven time and time again, that is, obviously we need basics like food and air and stuff, but that is the thing that fills the heart and soul mostly. So, so in the sense of time, like respecting time here, I got one last question, at least for this. In like 2 sentences of the deal, there's a lot of graduating students now, you know, that don't have their graduation, but they're having it, they're graduating. What would be your advice with all the amazing experiences you've had? What would be your advice to them as future leaders who care as to, well, what now? What's next?
Follow your bliss, but don't let it be on a shifting plate. Your passions are not how you feel. Your passions are only discovered by doing and failing at a lot of different things. So just go out and do.
Awesome. Susan, thank you so much.
Okay, always a pleasure to speak with you. So good luck.
You're a star. We'll talk.
I'm not sure about that, but you know, we're building really great things. So I hope to hit you back up and let you know when we're ready to unveil. Should be in a few months. We'll have some great news.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us on this. And you are really one of the leaders who care.
Thanks, Mark. Bye. Looking forward to watching this.